What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're doing the TDS NUZLOCKE challenge. The rules of this challenge are simple. I gotta beat all 3 core game modes without using the same tower. So if I use the tower in normal, I can't use it in fallen. This challenge turned out to be super hard, so I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into it. Normal mode was first, so I went with minigunner and ace pilot. I chose Honey Valley for the map because it's really easy and was on my way. I chose ace pilot because of its all-around great DPS, and I chose minigunner for late game DPS. So I got an ace pilot down and upgraded a few times. I had to save all my good towers for later, so it's really important that I use the worst towers right now. And going without farm would prove to be very difficult. Luckily, the ace pilot shredded through the early rounds, and we were on to the normal boss. The thing about normal is that the normal boss comes on wave 7 because it only has 30 waves, making this game mode much harder than Molten. But luckily, the ace pilot was enough. The hidden enemies came on wave 9, but I got an hidden detection on the ace pilot the round before, so I was fine. Everything in this game mode happens way faster than in Molten or Fallen, so you have to be ready. Breakers came, but the ace pilot destroyed them. The Necromancer came on wave 13, but we destroyed it. It barely even got a chance to summon anything. Then the strong enemy appeared, and I honestly had no idea what it was, but I destroyed it, so it wasn't a big deal. It's just a less strong Molten, I guess. More strongs as well as breakers came out on wave 15, but the ace pilot was way stronger than them. It really is crazy how far you can get with just an ace pilot. I then maxed the ace pilot, giving it a DPS of 180, which is better than golden minigunner, so really insane. I was beginning to think maybe I should have saved this one for Fallen. The slow boss came out wave 16, and I decided I was right to go with it this time. We almost didn't kill it. I decided to get a minigunner to help out, and it was the right decision. I got to level 2 and the slow boss was no more. I absolutely shredded the hidden boss on wave 17 and didn't even get through the first loop. Then the bolts came out, and yet again I had no idea what these enemies were, but I didn't really get a good look because we killed them too quick. Man, it really sucks being this powerful. Then the 3 slow bosses came out, and I actually started to get scared. I maxed my minigunner for extra DPS, but I still didn't know if I could do it. If I had been playing Molten, we would have only been getting to the Molten enemies at this point, which is just insane. Luckily, this map was good enough, and the crazy DPS of the ace pilot was good enough that we managed to kill all 3 bosses. But with slightly different tower choices, we would not have survived this. I got another ace pilot and almost instantly maxed it, and then the speedy boss came out. I knew that we could take it, but it was still scary considering this was only wave 21. Yet again, how is this easier than Molten? It's clearly not. I don't know why you get a smaller reward for this. Anyways, we killed the speedy boss easily and moved on to the next round. I maxed the second ace pilot and started to just spam ace pilots. I ended up just having a ton of maxed ace pilots flying around and only one minigunner, but it was fine. I decided to get more minigunners eventually because of their more reliable DPS, and then the Gravedigger came out. He only has 40,000 HP, but this is when the speedy boss would be coming out on Molten, so this is way harder. He did a stomp to send on the minigunners, but the ace pilots weren't affected because they're flying, which is just another really great thing about the ace pilot. He did this ability where he dug enemies out of the ground, but it didn't really matter because they killed them really fast. Honestly, kind of a waste of a really cool idea. I got a few more ace pilots and minigunners as he walked around the first bend, and I was hoping to get him by 20,000 before he got to the middle. He did another stomp, but my ace pilots didn't really care, so I was fine. I managed to get him down to 25,000 HP, which was enough. Then he got into the zone where all my ace pilots could lock onto him, and he stood no chance. He did another stomp attack, but it wasn't enough because my ace pilots took him out. And just like that, normal mode was done. And I'd only used 2 towers that I probably wouldn't have used otherwise, so I was doing pretty good. Next up was Molten, and I went with G-Crook, Pursuit, and Warden. G-Crook for early mid-game, Pursuit for late game, and Warden for support. I chose U-Turn for the map because it's kind of long, but honestly I shouldn't have chose it. There's a lot of other ones, I don't know why I did. Anyways, I got a golden crook down and set it to the strongest because I didn't want to leak. On wave 5 I upgraded it to level 2 so I could get guards. Guards would be very useful, especially because they're golden, which was another great thing about using golden crook boss. The only issue is that it's actually a really good tower and I probably should have used it for Fallen, which would be a problem later. Anyways, I upgraded it so it had a really fast attack rate, and at that point I just started shredding everything. Golden Crook Boss is a really good tower, so it was not that hard. There's damage. And I got to the level where it could spawn crooks. And then I got a third Crook Boss for a little farther back for the things that would go back there, and I upgraded it. But you can only have 4 Golden Crook Bosses, so I only had 1 more I could place. The hidden enemies started spawning, but the Crook Bosses just destroyed them. It wasn't even a challenge. Then Breakers appeared, and Breakers are actually kind of scary, so I got a final 4th Crook Boss, and was able to kill them. I now had 4 level 3 Crook bosses, so I had a bunch of crooks spawning, as well as just tons of DPS. The Moltens were really easy to beat, the slow boss was also easy, and I started maxing my crook bosses because I felt like it. To be honest, after playing normal mode, this game mode was just so easy, it was kind of funny. At this point, I had like a whole blockade of crooks just waiting to kill everything, so this was really easy. And then they all fell over, which made me very sad. I started getting a bunch of wardens to slow down the enemies, but to be honest, I didn't really need to. This mode is just too easy, dude. I started to realize that I was kind of being overrun, so I realized I needed a pursuit. But for some reason, I just upgraded my wardens. I don't know what I was doing, to be honest. I have no idea. I really didn't have enough DPS at this point, and I needed to get a pursuit, but I didn't. I just kept upgrading my wardens because I'm stupid. God, I don't know what I was doing. Here, I'm actually getting more wardens because I just really like warden, apparently. Like, it's not even that good of a tower. Something is wrong with me. I need help. Speedy bosses were now spawning too. Just another testament to just how badly I needed more DPS. I don't know why. I, like, just upgraded wardens. I have a mental illness, apparently. I don't even know. This game is severely damaging my brain. The big purple breakers started coming out, but they weren't actually that bad compared to the slow bosses and speedy bosses. They still got through because I needed pursuits and didn't get any because I'm stupid, but not as bad as I could have been. I then finally made the genius decision to buy a pursuit on wave 35. I don't know what took me so long. Something is really wrong with me. But yeah, I got a lot more DPS, it really helped. At this point, we were back to shredding everything because I guess wardens are pretty good, but without the pursuit, I would have died here. I maxed a 1 pursuit and started to get more. And by the time wave 40 finally started, I had 3 max pursuits, which was enough, luckily. But the fact it took me this long just to get that is really sad. In fact, I barely had enough firepower to beat the Molten boss. I sold my wardens to get more cash so I could put down pursuits, because now I'm smart, apparently. Way too late. Finally, the Molten boss went around the last bend here, and I was able to kill it. But it was actually really sad how long it took me to figure out that I needed to buy pursuits, and not a good omen for Fallen mode. Oh god. Plus, I had used Ace Paladin and Gold Crook, which I didn't realize at the time, but those are both very good towers that I could have used for Fallen, and I was left with not a lot for Fallen. I'd saved Farm, DJ, and Commander for Fallen mode, but I didn't really have any early game, so I brought NG and Axel, but NG isn't that good for early game, so I was taking a risk here. I picked Fungi Island for the map because it's objectively the best map in the game. It's just really long and has a lot of good curves, so it was a great choice. I put an NG right in the middle here because it was a good spot. Don't get me wrong, NG is a really great tower for early, mid, and late game, but it just wasn't quite strong enough to get us through leakless, so I took a lot of damage in this early part. I started farming so I could balance farming and upgrading the NG so I could both survive and also make enough money to upgrade the NG. I have no idea why I didn't save Ace Palette for this game mode. I was leaking a ton, but if I managed to get an Axel down this early, then I could do really good. The only problem was my farms were still really low level, so I had basically no shot of getting an Axel. So I began upgrading the NG instead. We were leaking a really serious amount, and to be honest, it was kind of scary. And on wave 11, I actually managed to get an accelerator. I started upgrading it, and we basically just started shredding. At this point, I could focus on farming. Because my only 2 damage towers were very endgame based, so I really need to get a lot of money. But what's great about endgame towers is that they're really powerful in the early game, so this was going to be pretty easy. It was kind of a gamble to use NG and Axel as my 2 damage towers, but it paid off. I got a DJ on wave 16 to help me max the farms. And yes, I did spend $30 on the plushie for this skin. In my defense, it's a very cool skin, okay? The only downside about this map is that the breakers spawn instead of mysteries, because breakers are arguably more powerful, but I prefer them over RNG, so it was fine. Oh, and not to mention, I did have an accelerator, so it was pretty easy. With the level 3 DJ, I began maxing my farms, and once they were maxed, I could just get max accelerators and basically win automatically. But until then, I kinda had to watch out for myself at the same time because those breakers were actually punching through. And I really didn't want to leak because I had 69 base health, so, you know, nice. The Fallens cave at wave 20, and unsurprisingly, we shredded them. After early game, honestly, this wouldn't be that hard because, you know, I had Axel and NG and max farms. But then somehow on wave 21, 3 Fallens escaped. They leaked through my defense and then tragically did damage to my base, going from 69 HP to 27 HP, which is literally the saddest thing that's ever happened to me. RIP 69 HP. In happier news, I maxed the DJ, and in even more happier news, I absolutely shredded the giant boss. But it was wave 23, and if I didn't have max farms or something by wave 30, then that tank was gonna actually beat my ass, so I need to get something. And that something would turn out to be another Axel. 2 level 4 Axels was just a lot easier than having 1 level 4 Axel. But I began to notice that I'd put my farms in like a really bad spot because I needed to put a commander there. So I kind of had to improvise and put him farther down, which means that he couldn't really see all my towers unless he was maxed, so that was too bad. Luckily I was like super rich, so it didn't really matter. Then the glitches came out, and these guys always end my Fallen runs, so I am so glad that we absolutely shredded them. Anyways, I got 3 commanders just so I could chain, but still having my farms in that spot was really annoying. The tank was coming in 3 waves, so I figured not a better time to max an axle. So 3 commanders, a max axle, level 4 axle, and an engineer, probably enough. But because I'm paranoid, I got another axle. So 2 level 4 axles, a level 5 axle, an engineer, and 3 commanders, probably enough to kill the tank. And if it wasn't, then you wouldn't be watching this video right now. And right before he showed his ugly face, I maxed another axle, so we destroyed him. Like, I was actually so scared, and then we just completely decimated him, so the rest of this run would be really easy. It was a really risky early game, but the end game paid off really well. At some point, I maxed my other 2 farms. I don't know, I wasn't really paying attention. I began to put engineers near the front, and I got like 3 of them to max. I didn't have anything to put for stun bait, so I just got absolutely bullied by the warden, but it didn't really matter because he only has 5,000 HP. Plus, engineers get their little shields on max level, so that's really cool. Even if it is directly stolen from TF2. I got more axles, bullied more monsters, you know the deal. And then finally, the king was here. I put commanders down as stun bait, it didn't work at all. It was a fierce battle, our engineers were shooting, our axles were charging, yeah, we won. To be honest, it wasn't that surprising. I mean, we had literally the 2 best towers in the game, all of them maxed. I don't know why I'm like celebrating here. It was so easy. Whatever. Alright guys, that's about it. Thanks for watching. If you would subscribe, that would mean a ton to me because I am so close to being monetized that it actually hurts. Yeah, that's about it. See ya.